Hello, we're live on Facebook. You
Jazz
know I
hands.
start with jazz hands now, right? That's you got to start every live with jazz hands. That's the signature move. So welcome, Ben Laube and Joseph Mooradian. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing super good.
Doing great. How are you?
I'm so good. It's Monday.
Yep.
And it's sunny outside in sunny Florida.
Yeah, we feels like we've gone into it. It's summer now. We had three days in a row where it's been kind of that 80 something, mid to high 80s and humid, and
it's coming.
Yep.
It's coming. So we're talking new construction today. We're talking about what are the benefits of buyers who are working with realtors during the new construction process, and how are the two of you best serving your customers throughout that process? Because I know you're both rock stars as it relates to representing the new construction process with buyers. So before we start, do you want to share a little bit about yourselves? I know we've both been on live together, each of us, but talk a little bit about yourselves and let's get this started. Ben.
Joseph, you go first.
Come on, Joseph, you're up.
Okay, I'll go. So just a little bit of my background. I've been a realtor for coming up on 10, or I might be in my 11th year now. I've lost track. But previously, I worked predominantly in the residential market in Miami. And so there, because I wasn't out in the western suburbs, pretty much everything was already existing homes, resales, other than the condo market, which was that was where our new construction was. And so some different, working with new construction on a condo is very different than a single family home. And so I've been up here now, and so now I've been exposed for a while to the new home construction here, which is fantastic. It's great to see how much is going on here, but it does pose some different challenges for buyers. And it almost feels like a buyer on a new home is equally reliant on an agent. They may not know it, but I think really can be equally as reliant on an agent, but for just some different things. And in particular, well, there's lots of things. It's all coming into my head because Ben and I were
going to get to it. That's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah.
We're here to cover all those things.
But one of the things I think is with the predominance of new home construction here, because we do have so much, it could be really overwhelming for a buyer to go out and try to gather all the information from the various communities and compare floor plans and what the incentives are, and to know what the builder warranty is, and just, there's layers upon layers upon layers of things to know. Where, those of us that work the new home communities and new home sales, we are out there already checking. As soon as a new home community is up, even before they have a model, we're going out to the sales center, wherever that may be, or calling agents to find out what types of properties are going to be coming. Are they going to be condos, single family, townhomes? What's the price point? What kind of floor plans? All that stuff. We're already reaching out to all our contacts.
We have the relationships, right? We have the relationships, and isn't that what you were just both sharing with me in the little moment before we went live? Is you all ran into each other yesterday, Ben, right?
Yeah.
Were you out doing your continued education, as I like to call it, staying in touch with everything going on new construction?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, in Orlando, like Joseph has said, there's a lot of new construction opportunities for buyers. So anytime a buyer is looking for a specific price point in the specific area, if new construction is an option, I always talk to them about that first, because why get a existing home if you can get brand new and get warranties and other benefits of that? You have less deferred maintenance. So Winter Garden is the one area where Joseph and I ran into each other yesterday, and it's blowing up out there. And we were both previewing a new community that is not even they just started pre-selling, but they haven't publicly marketed that they're selling that they're doing pre-selling yet. So that's a great time for us to get buyers in the door early on in the process, because we all know when a builder is building a community, they increase prices usually every 2 to 5 transactions. So the sooner you are in a new community, if you're the first house built, you get the best deal, and you have gradual appreciation that's coming on throughout the 2 years that the developer builds out the entire neighborhood. So
we talk a lot about that when you're considering new construction, if you're looking for the best deal, right, there's 2 hot opportunities for buyers to consider: coming in first or coming in last. Yep. One or the other, that's going to be your best deal, like steal of a deal. And you both are touching on really important things, and that's that as realtors, we have really strong relationships with the builders. And Ben, you're mentioning we can even at times know about inventory long before it's even released in general marketing. Yeah. So it's important to talk to your realtor and have these conversations, because a lot of times we're going to know about inventory that is not available for most of the general population to know, and sometimes a few weeks in advance. We were at Hawksmoor, all of us, right? We did a team meeting at Hawksmoor a couple weeks ago, and she was sharing with us, the builder representative, that, hey, I'm going to be releasing phase 2 soon, but you need to bring your buyers by. And so they're really working those relationships for agents like the 3 of us and our team that keep the relationship intact, and we're continually building on our knowledge, because we have to keep visiting so we continue to learn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And branching again off of something Joseph said, there's just so much information out there with new construction. And working with the realtors, we definitely know like what questions to ask to identify the differences between community, floor plans, incentives. But I've had buyers before where they've considered new construction and they've started the process on their own before they reached me. And, they just only saw maybe 3 communities of the 10 that existed in that area. Because what happens with new construction is the builders put the information on their website, but very rarely do they actually put all the information on the MLS. So it's not always prevalent on Zillow, where a traditional buyer might be searching. So unless you're going into these communities on a regular basis, like we are as realtors, you're really not going to be fully informed of all the different opportunities that are coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
That's so true. And on that, it's a good segue to, all right, let's go right to this number 1 misconception is, but the builders have realtors that work in their model homes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive into that misconception.
Well, they may or may not be a realtor, but you feel, I think a lot of buyers think they can go in and work with that, just work with that person, and that person might be really, really nice, which most of the ones we've worked with are.
Sure.
Yeah, they're all very nice, but buyers forget that salesperson works for the builder. They don't represent the buyer. They're not even a transaction broker, or a transaction agent, like we are predominantly most of the time. But they do work for the developer. And so the buyer, by having a realtor represent them and work with them when they're out starting their home buying process, and in particular if it's new construction, we represent the buyer. So we are looking out for the buyer's best interest. And so we are a great sort of the buffer, I guess, between the builder and the buyer. And a lot of times the buyer may not know the differences between this one community and another, and there may be something that they don't like that one builder's offering, but they think that that's all the choices they have. They don't have any other option, but we would have that information and we would know that. And I don't know, Ben, you want to piggyback something on that?
So I actually have a recent horror story about this, actually.
Oh.
Uh-oh, here we go. This is good.
These stories, they break my heart a little bit.
But this happens. So these are real
happens,
examples.
and it's good to educate the consumer.
So customers of mine last year, when they weren't mine, they were under contract on a new build home. And the builder, normally when you have a home to sell, they give a financing contingency that's like home to sell or home to sell contingency. That's somewhere between 45 to 60 days, and sometimes can be extended to 90 days if you work with the salesperson and the home's not moving. Well, they had this, contingency in place, but they didn't know the timeline. So they canceled the contract 2 weeks before the closing of the new construction deal because they couldn't sell their existing home that they had to sell to then qualify for the new purchase. So without, they went to the builder without being represented. And so they weren't fully informed that there was no way to get their deposit back because they canceled outside of that window. And that's one of the things that we do as realtors is, we're making sure that you don't lose money, right? We're going to want to make sure that you're fully informed as to, if you have to aggressively change your listing so that it sells in an appropriate timeline so that you're not jeopardizing your next house. I mean, that's critical. So that was a whole lot of lost money, unfortunately.
That saddens me when we hear those stories. And in all the years that we've worked with new construction buyers, one of the biggest things we talk about is that please know when working with a realtor, we are here on your behalf. We are going to represent you. So from the moment we step into that new construction development, all the way throughout to the closing and way beyond, as the three of us know, we have a fiduciary responsibility, and we have the knowledge to make sure that you have a representative, whereas without a realtor, you're on your own. You're representing yourself essentially. So with a realtor, Ben, in that case, you would have been able to have been proactive to make sure that the customer was protected and be in tune with any deadlines to, again, be proactive. So what would you say is the number one pitfall that a buyer might encounter if they are representing themselves when they're purchasing new construction without a realtor?
I would say if there's two categories. There's new construction production homes, like the big developers that people have heard of: Lennar, Taylor Morrison, Toll Brothers, D.R. Horton, and then there's custom builds. So they're kind of two different beasts. Let's put it that way. So with the production homes, I think some of the things that a buyer may not know is what are the cancellation policies. What are what's the initial deposit, and if there is a draw, or what does the details of the transaction, the financial aspects of the transaction look like throughout the construction period. Some other aspects, the lending aspect with a lot of buyers will go into a new home community and automatically think that I'm sorry, to silence that. And sorry about that.
I think I silenced mine. Let's all do a phone check, Joseph and Ben. So they might go with the in-house lender because they get the closing cost benefits, but very often the in-house lender may have a limited number of loan products for them, right.
Depending if they're working with a specific bank or if there are a couple builders that have a list of preferred lenders, so that gives you a little more flexibility. But let's say you might have a unique situation where a different loan product over the life of the time that they expect to live in the home, it may be better to have looked at other options. That's just one example. Of course, there's the various incentives, because the incentives are always changing, and so when we have knowledge of maybe last month there was a great incentive going that was perhaps $15,000 at the design center, and now they've lowered it to $5,000. Through our relationships with the sales associate at the builder's office, we may be able to leverage that and be like, come on, you just gave my buyer last month $15,000, and this one we're really close, but to keep it on budget. And so,
I know you have room, Mr. Builder. I know there's room. You still have plenty of healthy margins there.
Exactly. So we would know that, whether the buyer only knows whatever the builder's going to tell them.
Yep.
So those kind of things. Whether it's new build or production or custom home. Another thing is that I'm sure most buyers don't realize they can have and should have a new home inspection. And in particular, if it's a complete new build from they're purchasing when it's just land. There are three different really good construction landmarks that you want to have two different inspections prior to the last one.
And also, buyers don't realize too that there are are inspectors who specifically specialize in the inspection process of new construction, which can differ from an inspector who the primary model they have is inspecting resale properties. And so it's also really important. Your realtor will be able to give you a list of those that, and if you are on your own, please do make sure you get an inspection. The county does an inspection, but it's not anywhere near as thorough, right, Ben?
Yeah, we've seen issues before. The county does permit inspections, which is great, but one thing that the county doesn't really check for is, do you have the right amount of blown-in insulation, in your attic, right? And there's been times where it's totally been forgotten. And honestly, you would be surprised, but that's not, no one goes up into the attic when we do the final walkthrough on new construction. So getting an inspector who can go up on the roof and make sure that the shingles and the roof was installed properly, the soffits were installed properly, and really the insulation and the big mechanical things that you don't want to have to deal with for the next 10 years, making sure that they were done right. It's just, part of doing your due diligence, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I would say too, that it's not uncommon for buyers of new homes who think, oh, I'm getting a new home, it's going to be great, there's going to be no problems at all. Right. Well, that first year, I hear stories, and I've had buyers that have had some stories of like leaks that they couldn't identify where they were coming from, and it made no sense. And then, they finally get the builder back out to try to figure out what the issue is. And it's because they didn't connect the PVC pipes correctly underneath one of the bathtubs or something. And those kind of things can be alleviated with the inspections that are done prior to the drywall all being completed. So that's a huge point. And that is, again, something we talk a lot about on our team is about, okay, so it's one thing if you have a final inspection, right? And we're talking private inspections. That's great if you have a final inspection, but it is imperative to have that slab and that pre-drywall inspection. And so that your whole home, the whole process throughout is documented by multiple inspections along the way, and it's been thoroughly looked over by a true inspector who can look at it with a third party eye, right? Yeah. Not the county, not a representative of the builder, somebody who absolutely can come in and say, we may have a challenge or everything's great. Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is like the county inspector, they're going to come out to inspect a home, and they don't have time to be out there for 3 hours on one home. They're going to come through and they'll check, let's say for the electrical, the electrical inspector comes out and he's going to check maybe 2 or 3 plugs or outlets and consider that an example of the work throughout the home. He's not going to check every single one. Whereas a private home inspector is going to check every single outlet, make sure they're grounded, make sure that the hot and the neutral wires are what do they call that? The polarization, I think.
Oh, Joseph, so you're getting way in deep.
Yeah, I forget what it is, but make sure it's working right. And they're going to flip all the light switches. They're going to run all the sinks and appliances and make sure that everything's draining properly, and then give you a punch list that the buyer has then to give to the builder and say, here's a list of things that need to be done. And that's all stuff you want to do before you close. And if you're on your own, you won't know that, and then you'll move into the home, and it won't be until you are the guinea pig, in the first year, finding out what's working, what's not working, and then you have to get the builder back to come and fix it. So it's those things taken care of in the beginning. And that's something I was going to throw in too, something else, especially here in Orlando, since we have so many people that are second homeowners, their vacation home here. And so, or even people relocating. We've got a ton of people relocating, especially Lake Nona and Horizon West area. And so they're not here. So they're not here to watch the construction process, but we are. And a good agent who does new home construction, we go out and we check on the construction process, on how it's progressing along. We make sure that when the lot is selected and then they start to pour the slab, they're pouring the slab on the right lot. because
Okay, so that's no joke, Ben. I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but this is the story. Sometimes we have these crazy stories. Jeff and I represented a buyer who was purchasing a new construction property. And because of this fact, Joseph, that yes, we go out on a very regular basis because we work with a lot of buyers who are not in the area yet. The builder completely made an error on the floor plan and built an entire 400 square foot room that was off the back of the property on the wrong side of the lot, on the wrong side of the floor plan.
Oh my
And
God.
so because it was a block home, and so we knew right away. We were there the week prior, and the next thing you know how that goes. You go from nothing to something real quick. 1 week later, we go out and we're like, well, guess what? That's on the wrong side of the house.
Yep.
So just curious, without having a realtor who could pick that up immediately and who's going out on a weekly basis, they could have been so much further into the process. In this case, it was, hey, you have to fix it.
Yep.
So they took it down and they built it on the right side of the property, on the right side of the house. It could have been all the way through to drywall if someone was building a home, not from Orlando and not working with a realtor. I don't know if you've heard that story, but there's a lot of stories like that.
That's what I was going to say. One of them that I know, a coworker or another agent had at a new home construction, was the sales agent in the office was not, let's just say, was a little geographically challenged with maps. So they thought they identified and they circled one lot that the buyers were buying, but she had the map turned upside down or something was configured wrong. And so then the agent went out to check on the progress, and the house was not on the lot that it was supposed to be and that they were shown. And so that, so at least the agent knew that in advance to bring it up and to start to try to address it with the buyers. It turned out it was actually a better lot. But, still had, you got to make the buyers aware, let them know what their options are. But something like that would not have been discovered until the buyers showed up to close because they were out of town. And then it would have been a much, much, much bigger deal because it wouldn't have mattered whether it was a better lot or not. They would have just been very upset that the house that they thought they were buying and picked out is not the one they're getting. And
well, don't you think it's a difference, Ben, of proactive rather than reactive? And how do you feel you best serve the customer through this process that allows you to be proactive rather than reactive?
Well, I mean, that's just the benefit of using a realtor through the process. But I think there's one point in the process which is the most exciting, besides closing on the new home, but also the most stressful. And that's when you're doing a build from the ground up, not a production home, and you go to the design center. And I don't know about you guys, but I go with my buyers to the design center just to provide some insight on, where that builder's pricing may be either off or way too much. You don't need the builder to put in crown molding. That's something you can do at a much cheaper price after the fact. And so just to provide that non-biased kind of third-party recommendation on, where to spend your design money, and so that you don't go over your budget, first off, and then two, over the appraised value of the property, because you can over-design and overbuild a house quite easily. So.
In a matter of an hour too, right? You've been to design centers and you see it happening and you can just see it unfolding. And it's that is such a valuable point to talk about, is that it's not as though a realtor would hinder you through that process. The realtor would just be that third party consideration to include some considerations for you. Like you said, Ben, there are some upgrades that you should absolutely consider holding off to do post-close. And then the realtor the opposite of that is make sure as your representative to say to you, oh, we better keep this in mind. This upgrade is imperative to have the builder do now, because if you don't do it now, you'll either never do it at all and you'll always wish you did, because we know from a resale value standpoint, or you do it later and it costs you 3 times as much because it's so much more of a challenge after the home is built. That's a brilliant point to make.
Yeah.
Like 8-foot doors and blinds.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Depending on the blinds and depending on the builder.
8 foot doors and solid doors too are another one that gets me every time. Oh my goodness, huge difference in a house on the way the house is built.
And I would say flooring. A lot of people still opt to just do the carpet. You know, most builders offer some sort of tile in what they call the wet areas, which is the front entry, the kitchen and bathroom areas. And so that'll be tile, and then they usually offer carpet in all the main living areas and the bedrooms. And so some people will opt to just leave that and think they can change it later. And then what ends up happening, because it's a really big process to tear up that tile, they leave the tile and then they'll remove the carpeting and put like a hardwood or a laminate there. And so then, or maybe they'll do the living room first and then a bedroom later. And so they'll start.
It's Picasso.
Start developing this checkerboard pattern of different flooring surfaces. And I mean, and right there, you're just killing your resale value. And you know, you're gonna really pay for it on the other end when time comes to sell.
The carpet isn't so much a challenge, you guys, because that's an easy fix.
Yeah.
You could, but where it gets really challenging is if you're looking at doing ceramic tile from the builder. Just keep in mind, once you put ceramic tile in, to take the ceramic tile out and change that flooring. Oh my goodness, is that a process? And that's a process a lot of times home buyers or homeowners, they'll have to leave, right? Mm-hmm. They have to go stay somewhere else because you can't have it live in your house when someone is tearing up all that tile.
Yeah. Why would you want to live in a construction site again?
Right? Exactly.
Anytime I'm showing properties, anytime I'm showing existing properties, and we see, and well, it's seen that the mismatched floors, or when you walk through the house and there's 6 different types of hardwood, you know, one type in the living room, one type in the study, one type in the master. I don't always comment on it, but all the time the buyers are like, I'm like, why don't you like that house? And they're like, oh, the flooring, none of it matched.
Yeah.
It's something so simple because, you know, if you don't have matching flooring and it's not cohesive, they think they're going to have to remove it before buying your property. And that, like you said, it really can hurt your resale.
Yeah.
It absolutely can. And so what we're talking about is really the importance of realtors being present, because we're a third set of eyes. We're a third set of eyes that, you know, we really want to focus on making sure that you know all the opportunities, right? And so you know all the things to take into consideration, and perhaps it might be a different community. Perhaps it's just making sure you have all the pertinent information as it relates to what's available in your price point on the market, resale and new construction, and then really being able to go into that purchase very educated and knowing that you are getting an excellent price as compared to the market value. So third set of eyes is huge.
You know,
I wanted you guys to talk about one thing though, because this is huge. I wanted you to talk about how important it is when working with a realtor, how the realtor can help you with lot selection. And that sounds like most buyers may not realize how important that is, but talk a little bit, Ben, about how you assist the buyers and why is that so important?
Well, of the proper or of the features of the house, the thing that you can't change at all in the future is your lot. So that's one very, very permanent choice, unless you want to build another house in the same neighborhood on a better lot. And I've had people who have bought new construction, and you know they've had what's very common is they'll buy the rear-loaded garage homes that really have like no backyard, and 2 years later they'll realize how much they miss having a backyard, and so they'll need to sell that home and then buy a new home with a backyard. And so lot selection is pretty critical like that, as well as if you want to get a conservation lot. And going back to like negotiating with a builder, you should always ask for more. And that's what we're here for. You know, every time we walk into a contract or start to write a contract and I say, what are the incentives? And they tell us, I say, okay, can you add 5,000 to it, right? And sometimes they say, no, absolutely not. But sometimes they said, yeah, let me look on that. Let me see if I can get my VP to approve it. And, you know, a lot of people don't know how to ask for that or don't even think it's an option.
I've been present. Actually, Joseph, you were present when Ben asked that exact question recently at a builder event that we were at. I looked at you and I said, go get him, Ben.
Yep.
Joseph, I would love for you to share a little bit about, well, you're representing an awesome custom home build right now, correct?
Yeah, so that's the other extreme, is doing custom homes. And I've got some buyers who I actually sold them a property a little over a year ago, which was a new build, but a weird one. It was completely new. No one had lived in it, but someone had already owned it. They just didn't live in it. So that was a great deal that I got for them, because it was, a lot of times people don't know this as well, a resale in a new home community where they're still building more homes quite often will have to go at a discount, because buyers walk into that home and they may love it, but then they walk into the sales center and think, okay, this is the same model and I can build it from scratch. And I didn't really love the flooring selection in that house that I saw. So, so for a little more money, I can get the exact floors I want. And now that I'm at it, I can change the backsplash, because I didn't really like that, glass tile backsplash. I'd rather have like a mosaic marble tile backsplash. So that's what starts to happen is they see the resale, they look at it, they know if they like it or not, but then they're definitely going to stop in the sales center, look at a model and think, okay, now they're going to start price shopping. Can I build, what are the things I didn't like in that resale that I can get in the new one? So sorry, I got distracted. So
no, it's good.
Okay, so I sold a house, got them a great price in Lake Nona. Well, now they've been looking, because their goal dream house is in Golden Oak. For those that don't know, Golden Oak is a private, exclusive community. It's the only place you can actually live on Disney property. So it is literally
in the world. Yes. The only place in the world.
People think, oh no, that you mean Celebration. I'm like, no, it's not Celebration. It's called Golden Oak at Walt Disney World Resort. So we picked out a lot, and where I'm assisting them a lot now is in the design phase. And we're not even at design, like selection of like light fixtures and colors and flooring and that stuff. We're working on the floor plan, because they have a certain set of needs that they want, and we've got to try to fit it into the floor plan. And so a lot of their concerns are things like, they want to make sure that they don't pick or do anything that's unusual or out of style for Golden Oak. So they want to make sure that they're for resale. They're smart. They're thinking about resale.
Well, resale, regardless of whether it's in Golden Oak, that's the whole third set of eyes, right? Is for you to be that beacon who can say, for your consideration, these are trends we might see in the market. These are things that buyers often share with us, our negative feedback items. So you're that expert to really give them that third set of eyes and be that voice for them.
Like Brown Kitchens.
What's that?
Like Brown Kitchens.
Brown Kitchens.
Brown Kitchen.
Everything goes round and round. Yeah, everything comes back.
I will say that here's my 2 cents. White subway tile never goes out of style. And so if you don't know what to do white subway tile. And there's lots of selections. There's beveled edge, there's rounded edge, there's 3x6, there's 4x8, there's tons of selections of it. But buyers today are getting really excited about all the different color choices and things they can do, and accent tile that you can put in. And I always just say, that's great. Just remember, the more specific choices you make, the smaller the pool of buyers on the resale side. You're going to have someone who doesn't like brown. And if you do your whole house in brown, you're going to alienate some buyers. And we also are aware of the current trends. So we know what's trending, and definitely brown kitchens are on their way out. Not to say that if that's what you want and that's what you love, that's what you should get.
I say brown kitchens are coming back, because they've been trending out for a while, so they're coming back.
Okay, so they've been out forever.
Exactly. That's my point, Ben. That's my point.
So we can obviously, you can see we can argue on this one, but so one of the things that I'm helping the buyers is the architect. He's a great architect, but he's a purist. So someone's frozen. I don't know who. Internet. Okay. So they've decided they wanted to go with a French country style home, elevation.
Oh, love. I
love it too. And there's not many in Golden Oak, so I love it. Golden Oak is full of Tuscan, not too many French country.
Love French country.
So he wants to do an authentic French country home, which means some other things inside, like, and it has to do with window styles and different things. And so they were having, because he's, you know, an architect, my buyers were a little afraid to push back when he was kind of saying, well, that's not really accurate to the style. And I was jumping in and saying, it may not be accurate to the style, but you can do it.
Can we just say transitional?
Exactly. That's when I say it doesn't have to be purist. And I let them know too. I'm like, believe me, Golden Oaks Architectural Review Board is not going to let you do something that's crazy. They're just not. They won't allow it. But with, you know, knowing what many of the floor plans and what the homes and what you're going to see in most of the homes in Golden Oak, I've been over there a gazillion times. I've got a lot. You
spend a lot of time there, Joseph.
A lot of time there. I've got a lot of friends and customers there. I've been in and out of the houses. I got pretty good knowledge of Golden Oak, and so my buyers are, you know, they're always saying to me, Joseph, if we don't have an elevator, is that bad? And I'm like, you're okay. You're okay. You don't need an elevator. Things like this. I told them, because they have a master bedroom and another guest bedroom on the ground floor, and I said,
smart.
You got 2 bedrooms on the ground floor. You're good. You're covered.
Yep.
Don't think you have to have an elevator. Now that's when budget constraints are
smart. Smart. Well, Ben, what are your thoughts on those little things you do, the details, which I say the dollars are in the details, but what are the details you do for your customers that really set you apart? Joseph's very detailed.
Yeah, I mean, just exploring all options and, you know, accompanying them to the design center, hooking them up with inspectors, accompanying them to basically all the construction meetings and walkthroughs, just to make sure everything that the builder promised, it was, you know, given to them. But I think one of the common misconceptions that people face when they're working or going for new construction is, and especially a lot of first-time home buyers seem to gravitate toward new construction because of that basically zero deferred maintenance. And something that they don't always know is how we're paid as realtors. And, you know, we're paid by the builder. So to get that third set of eyes, and with us and all our experience and everything, all the transactions that we have done for free, right? I mean, the builder's going to pay us to represent you. So there's no reason not to use a realtor. And I honestly don't know. Some people will say, or the myth I think is, you know, oh, well, if you don't have a realtor, the builder will give you a better deal. I've never seen that come true. But the builder does make more money when you don't use a realtor because they don't have to pay us.
That is right.
That's where the deal goes. It's a better deal for the developer.
That is right. That is such a good point, and one that I am certain is a misconception that is in people's mind often, is that, well, they'll get a better deal. And we know it not to be the case, because a couple of things we've covered here is, number one, y'all are amazing, strong negotiators acting on the behalf of that customer, not being employed by, as sometimes they are, the realtors or real estate agents that are in the models. They're employed by the builder, so they have the builder's interest at heart. And the community, right? So they're just focused on, we want to sell our next house in this development.
Yeah.
You're going to go in and do your due diligence to protect the customer so they know about the market,
right?
Not just the community. And so I think if we could just get one key point across, is that align yourself with a realtor who can make sure you're an educated buyer with the entire market in which you're buying within, not just one community. You know, do you know all the recent solds that are in that comparable price range? Do you know about all the market details of every community in the vicinity? That's what you need to be educated.
And negotiating is key. I mean, can I tell a negotiating story real quick?
You can. We have a couple more minutes.
So we went to a community in Winter Garden, and the buyers fell in love with this inventory home. You know, and with inventory homes, you have the best opportunity to negotiate because the builder wants to get rid of that home. And it was also a closeout of the community. So the home was listed online for $485. And we walked it, they fell in love. And I said, let's start your offer at $455, which, you know, is pretty low consideration. And on top of that, you know, you really want a laundry room sink. It's pre-plumbed. Let's have them install a laundry room sink. add cabinets on the sink, and then you don't really want to pay your closing costs because it's a builder. So let's also get you a $12,000 credit from the builder for your closing costs. Well, the builder accepted the offer, and the buyers I was working with, well, were obviously pleasantly surprised and pleased. But at first, when we first started about what they should offer, they fell in love with the house and they wanted it. So they didn't really want to go below like 470. But so we essentially saved them an additional $15,000 just by tactful negotiation and knowing how to work with those builders.
That's awesome. That's a drop the mic right there.
I have a drop the mic and then I had to pick the mic back up story.
Uh-oh.
I had a buyer and I took them to a new home community and negotiated an amazing deal on an inventory home. And so much so that within a year, I had a listing in the same area, same geographic, like within half a mile of that home. And it was now a comp of my listing. And the tough part was, it was an amazing, I mean, it was a brand new home, just for some, for some statistics. So it was like 3,000 square feet and under a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, under 3,000 square feet, under 400,000. And I mean, it was 3-car garage. I got them the washer and dryer and a fridge thrown in because normally the builder didn't include those, and they were asking $405. We got it for $394. So now I've got a listing of another 4.3 with like a half mile away, not even a half mile within that. And, comps for that are also showing above 4, but I know I just sold a house for $394. Like, and so it's, like, I'm sorry, but that kind of hurts your value a little bit. So I bite you in the butt. It can come back. So, but,
well, working with a realtor is so important, and you are both stellar examples of the realtors that are leading the way every day. And I couldn't be more proud to call you business partners.
well,
I loved this conversation. Would you each like to share your contact information so everybody can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Ben, you want to go first?
Sure. So Ben Laube.
I go last. Don't remember mine.
So Ben Laube, my last name is always mispronounced wrong. It's lobby like hotel lobby. So this is the first time I'm saying it on air.
I think I pronounce it right? I say lobby.
Yeah.
It's like Lobby, but it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
So, and my direct number is 407-712-4836, and you can find me at benlaube.com.
Awesome.
And my last name is Mooradian, which also gets massacred. So, like the prime meridian, the meridians that just go Mooradian. That's fine. I get it. I'll answer to that. And my cell number is 407-244-4463. And you can find me at joseph@realtyinorlando.com.
Awesome. Just so you know, my last name does not get mispronounced unless maybe it's someone's off day and they're not feeling very nice. And then maybe, but it's pretty clear. Okay, guys, it's always a pleasure. Let's keep this conversation going. I know everyone wants to see more of the two of you.
One more thing I'll throw out there for any home buyers out there that are considering new construction: take your agent with you on your first visit.
Yes.
Sometimes we're able to come in on the deal after the fact if we already have a relationship with that home builder and with the sales agents there, but many times we can't. So if you go in there and you give them your name and your contact info and all that, and we aren't there with you on your first visit, we can't help you.
That's why it's called, if you're a buyer and you're even 1 iota considering new construction, the first call you make is your realtor.
Yep.
Period.
Absolutely.
And they'll be able to assist you from there. You guys are awesome.
You too.
Have a great day. Jazz hands. Oh, I love it. It's catching on. All right, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
See you, Ben. See you, Renee.
Bye.